Cyberpunk is set in a metropolis of the future, where body modification has become an obsession. You play as an outlaw, an enhanced mercenary working in the sleazy underbelly of the city. Yeah. Okay, but let me tell you, the feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking. All right. So, I guess I gotta finish this. So tell me, do you guys want to know when the release date? Yeah. All right. Then check this out.
Hey! Fuck off, okay?
Over here!
Cyberpunk 2077, a game that would change the course of history forever. I was super excited, much like the rest of you, when I heard this game was coming out, and I couldn't wait to delve into Night City and replay this game more times than I've watched this clip.
Fuck! Oh my god! Holy shit!
Be that as it may, the hype train for this game was ecstatic. Needless to say, if a game gets too much hype, the expectations get very high. And you're probably wondering, how high? Today, I will spend an inappropriate amount of time delving into this game, briefly going on about its development, but mainly playing the game, explaining the mechanics, story, and overall gameplay itself, and giving my thoughts and opinions on what I thought was good, what I really enjoyed, what I thought was bad and needs to be solved as soon as possible, and what I think CD Projekt Red could have done done to improve some parts of this game. Now, there will be points in the video I will say some pretty direct and negative feedback about the game. Just to pre-warn you, that's purely because of my own personal experience from playing this game. I've played a total amount of 7 days, 6 hours and 36 minutes. Yes, I'm single, and I have 100%ed the entire game, getting all 44 achievements. No, I'm not a virgin. Needless to say, I was mad pretty much a lot of the time playing this game, which I will explain as to why further into the video. That's not to say I didn't enjoy the game. At times it was very addictive, and while recording this footage you see now, it's still as addictive as it was the first time I played, even without the incentive of getting more achievements. There will be major spoilers in this review.
Spoiler alert! Now,
Please finish the game if you don't want it ruined. You have been warned. Otherwise, if you don't care about spoilers or if you've already completed the game, then stick around and I hope you enjoy the video. Furthermore, for anyone watching this video, be sure to grab yourselves a snack, maybe get a little cozy, get yourself a beverage, or maybe just get some work done while watching, or maybe play a few games. Either way, sit back, relax, and find out the answer that begs the question, is Cyberpunk 2077 still bad? Ah, 2020. What a wonderful year. World War III was on people's minds the first week of January. Both Australia and United States was riddled with wildfires, and there was a global pandemic on the rise. Everything was going swimmingly. But one thing led to another, and CD Projekt Red delayed their new IP, something called, I don't know if you ever heard of it, Cyberpunk 2077, from April 2020 release to September 2020 release. With so much shit going on in the world at this point back in January, when people did find out about the delay, they were heartbroken. Case in point, but mostly understanding, as this was the first delay of the game, and given the current state of affairs of the world at that point in 2020, it was more or less understandable. But this game has been in development since 2012. Just let that sink in. So a few months went by, and you can imagine my amazement when Cyberpunk is delayed again to November 19th.
This deal's getting worse all the time.
But CD Projekt Red show us a lovely montage of what's to come. Okay, you know what, they may have delayed the game twice, but I'm still confident. Because at the minute it's only the end of June, and that will give them plenty of time for them to finish the game so I can play Cyberpunk 2077 on the 19th of November.
Oh, gee, that's very nice. Oh, what is this, some kind of magic act?
So the 27th of October arrived, and yeah, the game was delayed last minute to the 10th of December 2020.
You want to explain yourself? What are you doing?
This time people were not happy.
Cyberpunk has been delayed once again for the third time.
And started doing some really dumb shit. It was very clear that fans weren't happy, but without delving too much into it, the game developers of CD Projekt Red were at this point, what's the best way to describe? They weren't exhausted, they were incapacitated. Yeah, that's right. This was due to the amount of crunching they were doing to get this game out. Now, let me explain quickly what crunch is. Crunch is when you're doing some work, whether it's an assignment, editing, designing, animating, etc., and you've been working at it for quite a bit, and all of a sudden either you personally want to complete it ASAP, or someone else wants it done ASAP. There is a difference. Please make note of that. When you need to get something out in a month, and in your line of work is in editing, for example, which by the way is probably less stressful and difficult than making a game, on average it takes about 10 hours of editing to get 1 hour completed. If you're good. Now, if you let that sink in yet, don't forget, whilst you're editing, you might think, okay, it's 8:30 in the evening now, I probably want to wrap up soon, I'll stop around about 9, but in that half an hour gap, you've had a brilliant idea and thought, oh wait, it'd be so much better if I did this other thing, and you're behind the computer still when it's 10:30 gone 11 o'clock. That's crunch. Certain game developers have probably lost some years of their lives due to the amount of crunch.
I feel like I've probably removed some years off the end of my life with how hard I've worked at times. And it's not like nobody else did that to me. You know, like I made the decision to do that.
When some people, for example, in the game developer world crunch voluntarily, and I actually mean voluntarily, not bullshit, you don't have to crunch if you don't want to scheme that a lot of publishers and management in development teams say to the grunts actually doing all the fucking work. People who say, you know what, I'm a work fuckload tonight just because I want to get this done so I can move on with something else tomorrow or next week. That is them voluntarily crunching.
Oh no.
What?
This light is like world relative, isn't it? Yes. What I had hoped to achieve in about a half hour, now I'm looking at a good night's worth. So yeah, hopefully by tomorrow morning, we'll have something that works.
Now that's still not good, but you know what's worse? Having publishers, management, shareholders, and most importantly, the fans breathing down your neck to get this project done. And if you're tired or haven't seen the sun in 3 days and you're burnt out to shit, tough luck, baby, you're gonna get some death threats.
Why isn't it possible? It's just not. Why not, you stupid bastard?
And on top of that, there's a chance you could end up having stress casualty. In other words, a massive mental breakdown at work, and you'll need to take some time off out of the workplace to recover. And if your contract runs out within that time, you may well lose your job altogether. Ah, crunch. It's like a fine wine. If the wine was filled with mercury and you had to drink it as fast. You do not need to crunch like CD Projekt Red did for Cyberpunk 2077 or Bungie did for Halo 2 to get a game out. 80 hours a week is fucking disgusting, and oh my god, wouldn't you know it, the game came out December 10th and boy, there were more bugs in this than fucking Bug's Life. This video isn't about crunch. I just wanted to make my views very, very clear. But overall, in a nutshell, what I mean to say is,
it's time to stop! It's time to stop, okay?
Since the game came out on December 10th, 2020, it had a major backlash on it not being finished, as you can see. Play Store and Xbox Game Store took Cyberpunk down as it was almost unplayable on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. PC, PlayStation 5 and Series X was better, but still the footage I show today is from a Series X recorded in late 2021. Make that of what you will. Today I will be going through the game's mechanics, progression system, and explain what you can do in Night City, but mainly going through the main story. With all that said, let's dive straight into it. When you start off at the main menu, you hear this awesome V soundtrack, and damn, I gotta say, hearing this piece of art being played as soon as you load up the game gets me psyched up to play it, especially the first time around. That's something they got right with the original soundtrack to this game. It's incredible, and I have a ton of it downloaded, just because they actually sound so good. Just listen to it. When you start a new game, you're given 3 options to choose from. Now take note of what it says here. Select V's life path. Some events and dialogue options in the game will be different depending on your choice. Some of you may be thinking, but what about the dialogue tree? That's supposed to be so in-depth and create so many different individual pathways, outcomes and consequences. Well here, let me just show you what the dialogue tree is actually like. If the dialogue is in yellow, it progresses the conversation further. If it's in blue, it's for additional information. But ultimately, these dialogue options don't change the course of the game, they just add different conversations between V and NPCs. That's it. This was the biggest part for me when looking forward to the game, having 3 different characters to play with, all different lifetimes and pathways. That's what was promised at E3 2018, 2 years of hype in my mind for none of that to happen in the end. Just like many RPGs, you're to create a character. You can have a female voice with a male body or vice versa. You can customize your own penis and breasts. It's the first ever time I've ever done that in a game. I've never been one to stay into character customization for too long, as I usually make them pretty average, as I have less creative skill than whoever designed Ryder's anatomy. I try to make V look more like V from the commercials, and needless to say, it's nowhere near it, but I have zero patience with fooling around with it anymore. Well, we're off to a good start as I spill my guts out in a sink due to high levels of anxiety and stress. Jesus, corpo life isn't as easy as I thought it would be. Then this guy walks in and you have a quick time dialogue option in which if you don't select this option, there's just an awkward dead silence that goes on for how long the bar takes to empty. If I press it, my character acts all tough to the random dude using the toilets. Either way, the same outcome happens. What's the point? That's pretty much the principle of those dialogue options for the rest of the game, by the way. I'm not even lying. Anyways, I explained to Jacket that there has been a leak in intelligence and my boss called Jenkins wants to see me now.
I'll be in my office. And you hurry up.
Oh, that's real nice.
Jenkins then tells me Abernathy and him have always hated each other, and now she's been promoted to director, he claims she wants him out, and now has the power to do so. To stop that from happening, he asks me to assassinate her, as she quote unquote has left him no other choice. This is the game's way of showing what Night City looks like for the first time you play, and it actually looks pretty damn good. So I reach Lizzie's bar, hit someone, then meet up with Jackie and tell them about the plan. Some people from work show up.
He's a friend from work.
And they know that Jenkins has assigned me the task. They try to bring me to Abernathy, but Jackie intervenes and basically reminds them to not think who they are, but where they are. They end up leaving the bar, but my guy starts fading out a little due to the head fucking they induced into me earlier. I enjoyed the corpo opening sequence. Not a lot happened, but it got me excited to play the game even more, which is a great start. Now on to the Street Kid.
God, what's wrong with your face?
Jackie introduces himself and says he recognises me from the bars and stuff, and then proceeds to invite me over to his mum's house to try out his mum's chili. Isn't that a bit sudden? I mean, with the Corpo character, it's explained Jackie and V have known each other before even starting the campaign, so you get an incentive to trust Jackie, as well as treat him as someone you've known for a while. But with this V, you have literally spoke to Jackie once or twice, and one of them being he had a gun pointed to your head. It just makes no sense. Even one of the dialogue options I could use is basically saying, what, we're friends now? Even the development team knew this was a bit sudden, but try to play it off as, hahaha, it's funny to state the elephant in the room, but we can roll with that, right? No, you can't, it's bizarre. Honest to God, when I started this playthrough for the first time, I was excited to see the difference between this and the Corpo, and to see how Jackie fits into the timeline, but it was done so poorly and rushed. Let's just move on to the Nomad before I don't stop moaning about this method of execution. In the Nomad opening, you get to drive a car, straight away. The driving in this game is actually not too bad. You can switch to first person or third, but first just makes me sad about my life, so I'm going to just stick with the third for now. It's what I'm most used to nowadays with driving in video games. Before I can meet the client, I need his location, but first I need to ask someone to track him down. But in order for me to do that, I need signal, so I reach the radio station and get flashbacks from 2012.
Did I ever tell you the definition of
Radio towers. Lots and lots of radio towers, baby. Ubisoft game design. This is a great opening. Fast paced, it's had the most excitement out of all three intros, where Corpo was subtly showing you what Night City is like and how corrupt it is, and not showing too much in terms of action, but teasing the player into wanting to dive straight into this game as soon as possible. The Street Kid just didn't have that effect on me. Jackie showing up with the gun was pretty cool, but they handled the aftermath of that terribly. However, the Nomad's opening, 15 minutes of pure action, which is distinctively different from the other two, and it's all the better for it.
Hey, come on. It's nothing. We got chemistry, you and me. Be a crying shame to waste it. Partner.
Hey!
Aw, cuddly little fucker.
That is it for the difference between each of these characters. The rest of the game is exactly the same, whether you play a Corpo, a Street Kid, or Nomad. I am not lying. I mean, even the cutscene after each intro is completely exactly the fucking same.
And now stops you to ask if you got a smoke for her. Every new day here means 100 new arrivals, but only half these gonks will survive a year, and that's if it's a good one. And
holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
What the hell am I looking at?
NC's Legends. Know where you'll find most of them? The graveyard. Matters not where you're from. Matters not where you start. What matters here is the walk you walk. In Night City, the city of dreams.
At this point, when first playing this game, I was disappointed, but at the same time told myself not to worry about it, because just like Witcher 3, made by the same company, this game will have different branches and pathways depending on the choices I make.
Psych!
So I continue the game playing as the Corpo, where me and Jackie have been given a job to find and rescue a woman called Sandra Dorset. Once the apartment is clear, I find Sandra Dorset, to which she is not doing well and starts flatlining. And you're given the option to aid her as soon as possible or just wait.
B, need to know what's going on.
Jackie, air hypo! Fuck, this is bad!
Hey, catch, vato!
I think... Holy shit, it worked.
B, need to know what's going on.
Quéchese.
I think... Holy shit, it worked.
What's the point? I don't get these timed dialogue options. They seem so pointless. If I didn't do anything in time, it should have had a consequence. Why not? It's an RPG, a save and reload save game. You make a mistake, don't want to suffer the consequences, then just reload the save. Have the player make all the decisions.
Night City never sleeps. Danger lurks around every corner, even in daytime. Random encounters like these are an example of how your actions directly influence your open world experience. How your actions directly influence your open world experience. How your actions influence your open world experience.
Quéchese.
Witcher 3 had timed events, but they were very uncommon. But when they were there, they were extremely important and you had to think, but also hurry before time runs out, which made it so much more impactful as well as alarming. Gets my heart rate up because I know it's important. Whereas this...
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Whoops, sorry, not that. This, I generally don't select an option half the time just to see the awkwardness of the result afterward, just because it's laughable. Anyway, moving on. CD Projekt Red do a classic Grand Theft Auto style of game design and inform the player through exposition. That Watson, the first area we unlock to roam around in, will be in lockdown, so we can't go all over the map just yet, until I progress further into the story.
Got you, asshole! B! Aim for the driver!
The leveling up tree in this game is fantastic, hands down. CD Projekt Red did a great job on giving the player so many different options into how to progress their own unique character, and gives that element of replayability. In terms of customization of the character's clothing, which is armor stats essentially as well as weapons, it's relatively simple and much like Witcher 3's UI, which I like a lot, and I'm happy that they went that route for this game. Just like Witcher 3, CD Projekt Red have not learned and continue to believe that if your armor stats increase, the style and appearance must look 10 times worse. But hey, you look beautiful.
Yeah, this is it. Come on, V. Find me once Vic's done dusting your circuits. We'll hash out what Dex has cooked up for us.
I go and speak to Victor and tell him about my cyber STD, and he instructs me to sit on the chair as he begins his diagnosis and treatment. This is the game's introduction on body modification. In my honest opinion, it's a feature that most people enjoy, but to me, I think CD Projekt Red could have done a better job with it. For example, through this quest we are shown it through immersive, engaging camera angles, the level of depth it goes into, explaining the hows, whys and whats, the level of detail with choosing an upgrade then seeing it for the first time on my hand. This all looked very impressive to me and made me feel I can make myself into an ultimate machine, which I can essentially still do, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near as immersive as it is now. The immersion is gone. Let me explain. The only way to access new upgrades is to visit a cyberdock. There are tons and tons of them around Night City. I don't like this. I would much prefer to access it through the menu, which you can still do, but you can't purchase any new upgrades via that route. So you have to see a cyberdock, which I'll bite the bullet for if I had the same experience I did with Victor.
Bruh.
You wanna rule this city? Well, you ain't getting anywhere without an upgrade. You need a softer touch, stronger spine, cause taking over Night City ain't gonna be easy. You need a softer touch, stronger spine, cause taking over Night City ain't gonna be easy.
I don't know, I just feel kinda... what's the word I'm thinking of that defines how I feel? There you go. That doesn't look good. I also think that cyberdocks offer different upgrades to each other, but that's more of an inconvenience than groundbreaking.
Can I have the next slide, please?
Dex looks fucking awesome, and I recognise him from the trailer. Hang on, in the trailer he betrays V. I'm sure that won't happen in this. They won't spoil the first act of the game in the reveal trailer, would they? Oh, no way. We finally get down to the details of our first job, which is to steal a biochip from Arasaka, the old company I used to work for. In order to do that, we need to sort out a couple of things. Firstly, the gang known as Maelstrom were originally going to sell Dex a flathead, a four-legged droid that will aid massively in stealing the biochip from Arasaka, the main objective. They stole it from the convoy from Militech and had arranged for it to be sold to a buyer, the buyer being Dex. However, during that transaction, the Maelstrom gang had a mutiny and now has a new leader called Royce, a short-tempered and short-sighted lunatic. Dex instructs me to go into their base and retrieve the flathead, preferably without bloodshed, but that is still an option if it comes to it. There is also a corpo agent called Meredith Stout who knows about the convoy being attacked but doesn't know exactly what was stolen. He gives me her contact details and I can choose whether or not to involve her in this or not. She may prove useful in keeping me alive if things go sideways in the Maelstrom meetup, so I may actually take her on board with that. Lastly, Dex wants someone from the team to go meet the client, who wants the biochip in the first place. That's pretty much it in terms of chatting to Dex for now, and I leave the limo and get in contact with Jackie and tell him about the plan. He asks about which job we should do first. I tell him I'll go see the client first before we hit Maelstrom, but before I do that, let's take a look at what to do in Night City. First things first, let's talk about the blue icons. They look slightly different to one another, but more or less have the same objective. These areas you clear out in the game are fun, addictive, and a great way to sink some hours in the game to make your character gear and level higher to be OP in the story, which has always been the way I play RPGs, so I'm glad CD Projekt Red kept that mechanic in. My point is, if they really wanted to, they could have made the game more linear and prevented the player to play how they would like to. It's obvious why they didn't want to do this, as it's an open world RPG and it's to be expected, but overall I'm pleased with this, and it brings back good old memories of how I played Witcher 3. You also have gigs, which are pretty much like contracts in The Witcher 3, but for the most part blend into one another. In other words, I find that gigs are very basic and only 1 in 5 have a unique spin on it. For example, the majority of the time all you do is go to point A, speak to the fixer on the phone, they explain what needs to be done, but if you want more information, here you go, read a document. For starters, that's just lazy in itself. In Witcher 3, you could find contracts up on the board, read them, and then actually speak to the quest giver and have a proper discussion with them.
Please, sir, I want some
dialogue.
Please, sir, I want some
dialogue.
More deets attached.
This method of execution cuts all the time and effort into putting into a dialogue tree, and having the fixer always call you just screams rush to me. I know gigs are supposed to be different to side quests, but this is when the game does become repetitive, which in this case it is a bad thing. I mean, each fixer will say the same thing at the end of near enough every phone call.
More deets attached. Deets attached. Attach more deets for you.
Briefs attached. Read the attachment. Intel attached. Don't make me beg.
The majority of gigs goes as follows. You go into an area, clear out the target, then walk out. That's it. Sometimes it's clear the area, then steal a car, or you can sneak in instead, and sometimes if the objective says sneak in optionally, you will gain extra bonus loot and XP. If you fuck up and can't be asked to reload the save and complete the gig, the fixer will not be happy but still pay you for the job, but you will not receive the bonuses. Another thing you can do in your spare time in Night City is to buy cars. They're scattered across the whole map after the prologue. Cars and bikes cannot be customized at all in this game. You get what you buy. Some are fast, some have better handling, and some are just not worth your fucking time.
Woke up from a little nap, it's a little dark, but you guys silly? I'm still gonna send it.
After the meeting with Dex, I go and visit the client down at Lizzie's bar. Wait a minute, have we met?
Looking a little put out there, input. Looking a little put out there, input.
She tells me that the biochip that we're after is tucked away in Konpeki Plaza. It's a hotel run by Arasaka, which, being a corpo, my character is fully aware of. I ask her for what ace she has up her sleeve.
Now this should make your prick perk up. Yorinobu recently swiped the chip. He's made a deal with Netwatch. Aims to sell it to them. Have you spotted my ace yet, or do I need to spell things out?
Who wrote this? She tells me Yorinobu Arasaka, the son of the Emperor, has taken the chip we are after from his father and plans to sell it to Netwatch. Yorinobu once tried to usurp his father years ago when he was younger and in a street gang. Obviously it didn't work out and Saburo Arasaka forgave his son, but ever since then the son still has a resentment for his father, a bitterness if you will, which is probably one of the reasons why he has stolen the biochip, as its main design is to transfer life onto someone else's persona, meaning the Emperor is planning to live even longer, which I'm guessing Yorinobu is not too keen for that to happen. She then tells her that the chip is tucked away in Yorinobu's penthouse suite and has got to be stored away in a specialised container with the correct cool temperature. On the outside it just looks like an ordinary briefcase, which is convenient. After our discussion, she introduces me to Judy. Judy is a brain dance technician, which means any footage a person records, she looks at it, edits it and makes it as visible and navigational as possible. Before I meet Judy, Evelyn tells me she hooks up with Yorinobu on the side, to which she used the opportunity to record his penthouse. This gives Judy the opportunity to create a brain dance for an allocated person to use and find the chip. That allocated person is me, for some reason. I never got that. Why get someone who has never used a brain dance to try it on? This is a very important part of the heist. This is surveillance. I mean, sure, I guess it progresses the story and enables the player to use brain dancing as a feature, but wouldn't it save so much more time if Judy, an experienced brain dance technician, were to just quickly look through it and find it during the editing? I mean, sure, this way a member of the crew, i.e. the player, would find out where the chip is hiding and gives them a chance to surveillance the area to see what's what. But in actual fact, it isn't the best in terms of surveillance, as you can only see with clear visuals in first person, i.e. Evelyn's perspective. If you want to use the 360 camera, your vision is blurred. To start off with, Judy gives me a random brain dance to practice with, which makes sense seeing at this point the player has never used a brain dance before, but it's annoying as hell when it's your third or fourth playthrough, and there isn't a dialogue option that says, oh no, I've used brain dances before, we can just cut to the chase or something. It just doesn't make that much sense to me. Maybe I'm looking too much into this, but I feel like this takes up way too much time. Hell, even Evelyn agrees with me at one point.
Can't he just use my recording?
Why are we wasting time? Now, everybody, on the ground! I want to see you kissing the flooring! Money, now, or I will fucking drop you, I swear to God! Whoa, yeah, hey! Now, before I blow your fucking head off!
Enemy spotted.
Oh, fuck.
I tell Judy for Evelyn's brain dance I will need T-Bug to help with surveillance for the heist. After a pointless conversation that does literally nothing except slow this long process down even more, we move onward. Finally, now that we understand how a brain dance works, let's take a look at Evelyn's brain dance at Yorinobu's penthouse.
You look like a cut of fuckable meat, are you?
So I scan the cameras, alarms, ventilation.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
And while Evelyn and Yorinobu I have daddy issues start to get it on, I find the location of the biochip using the heat layer. I jump out the BD and speak to Evelyn afterwards. She tries to convince me to stab Dex in the back and go 50-50 with her with the takings once we steal and sell the chip. This route makes no sense and came right out of the blue, which is why I question, was this meant to be a dialogue option with consequences and CD Projekt Red run out of time, or was it just to make the player aware of the fact that anyone I talk to is ready to stab the other in the back? I don't know. But I don't plan to betray Dex, even for more profit, as it doesn't seem worth it to me, to which by the end of it, I tell her I'll think about it, and that I won't tell Dex what she just discussed. After I speak with Dex and keep him in the loop about the BD, I phone the corporal agent, Meredith Stout, in which she complies and arranges to meet me in an alleyway somewhere in Night City.
Take it you were the one to call?
That'd be me.
Falcon punch!
Thought you could blackmail me, fucker? Set conditions?
As you can tell, she is not happy the way I try to blackmail her, so they plug me into a 2077 version of a lie detector test in which every question she asks, I tell the truth, as telling her anything else literally benefits no one, including myself, making this scene have only one purpose: to be dramatic. She tells me to continue the plan and head to Maelstrom's hideout and pay for the flathead, but I must use this chip, as she claims Militech will buy it off of them, and I won't have to spend my own money. Because I use the corporal agent life path, literally what she is currently doing, I am familiar with this tactic, and it turns out to be a card with a virus on it, so I can use it instead of spending my own money, but it won't work, which will leave me and Jackie in a room filled with pissed off Maelstrom. Okay, so that's one option, but speaking of Jackie, let's meet up with him first before I go into all the rest of the options.
You're making a mistake. This girl's already good as dead. And she'll take you down with her.
Once we meet, we head inside the Maelstrom's hideout to take the elevator up to meet Royce's right-hand man, Dum Dum.
Guy I represent already paid Brick for it. I'm just here for the pickup. I can talk direct to Royce if necessary.
Nah, you talk to me. Name's Dum Dum.
Alright, let's take a look at the options presented to me. Option 1. Jackie refuses to sit down and I say nothing.
Sit your ass down for a planet bullet in your skull.
You know what, Jack? You called it. Let's scrap the bastards.
Whoa, 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 okay, alright, back up.
This so fucking hard? Fucking ass on the fucking couch!
Make me.
Thought you'd never ask. Sit your ass down for a planet bullet in your skull.
Jack, sit down.
Once I get Jackie to sit down, Dum Dum shows off what the flathead could do. Then I tell him we have already paid the previous leader of Maelstrom, Brick, for this flathead, so we'll be on our way.
Brick got it. I don't see any fucking brick around here, do you?
This is Royce. He is now the leader of the Maelstrom and makes it perfectly clear he is asking for me to pay twice and doesn't give a shit about Dex's and Brick's agreement that occurred before. So, what are my options? Well, I could decode the shard Stout gave me and give it to Maelstrom and tell them it had a virus on it and that I got rid of it for them. Once it's checked, they believe me and let me go with the flathead. Just before I leave, Militech attack. Dum Dum helps me and Jackie escape whilst taking out whatever Militech has thrown against us. Then we reach the final room and with Maelstrom and Royce's help, we take out 2 wannabe Robocop, jealous guy, poorly designed robots.
You've insulted me, and you've insulted this company with that bastard creation of yours. I had a guaranteed military sale with Ed 209. Renovation program. Spare parts for 25 years. Who cares if it worked or not?
Dum Dum walks us out and we are greeted by the guy Stout had in the back of her car earlier. Since we didn't use the chip with the virus on, Stout is then taken out by this guy somehow and he has no beef with you and asked to speak to Royce. Okay, I didn't mind that option, it wasn't too bad. But let's see what else we could have done. This is what would have happened if I chose to pay with the virus on. Maelstrom, as you probably would have guessed, would lose their shit. So I take out the thugs including Dum Dum and escape using the same route, only this time I fight Maelstrom, not Militech. I go and find the previous owner, Brick, who was in a cell. I unlock the door and deactivate the mine aimed at his chest. He can't pay me back at the moment, but it says if we ever meet again, he will owe me one, which I'm intrigued to see if that does eventually happen. One thing that bugs me with this though, if I side with Maelstrom and Royce is on my side, I can still save Brick and no one bats an eye. This makes no sense, they're not fighting each other, they just both become allies still for me. I guess it means I have more backup, I suppose. Once I reach the final area, I fight Royce and he's in a huge suit with heavy armor and a shield with a health bar, making this into an actual boss fight. I have made it much harder for myself with this choice that I made previously. This is a fantastic design and is exactly what I wanted from this game for an open world RPG. Once I kill him, I leave and it's the Militech again, only this time it's Stout who approaches me and says I can keep the flathead and leave it at that. Funny enough, later on, she gives you a text which you can respond flirtatiously and you can meet her in an apartment and
fuck her right in the pussy!
Alright, so what happens if I pay him with my own money? Well, it's probably what you would expect, as it's the same outcome if I were to pay them with the shard Stout gave me without the virus on it. Except this time I lose 20,000 eddies of my own, so fuck that shit. In any of these outcomes you choose, if Royce stays alive, i.e. you don't kill him, he will show up later on in the story with Dum Dum, which I thought was surprising, and it definitely caught me off guard. They play a small part, they recall you, and you chat a little bit on what happened, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So, do you want to know the option I picked? I decided to take the virus off the shard, kill Royce, which you can do in 3 ways. One being the boss fight at the end, which you've already seen. One being the roly-poly shit here you see, which I'm not too sure how it kills him. Or the way I did it.
Bang. Covering it, cocksuckers!
I kill the thugs again, and yes, including Dum Dum. Then rescue Brick and eventually get to the final room with no hard enemies to kill, no boss fight, just a simple clear and then go. Once it is clear, I head out and speak to Gilchrist, which has slightly different approach now and a dialogue, but is more or less the same as what it was before towards the end of the conversation, and that's it. It made it much easier for myself, and I got Stout back for holding me at gunpoint earlier, and got the money off of the shard she gave me, so yeah. She didn't really think that through, did she? Fucking idiot. God, I have to say, I love that quest. filled with so many different options and outcomes, and it is all to do with whatever the player decides. This is what I have wanted from this game. Well, now that we got the flathead and spoken to the client, let's finally start to plan this heist. The plan for the heist goes as follows. Jackie and I head to the hotel in a Delamain, an AI that drives cars. Once we arrive, we go in disguised as arms dealers to check in at the hotel, and I use that corpo charm of mine.
Have I asked you to do that?
No. I just thought that since...
Who asked you to think?
Once we're in our room, we use the flathead to infiltrate the building and take out the dwellers, which is the hotel's netrunner. Once they're taken care of, T-Bug can have free range on the hotel's network system. We then take the elevator up to Yorinobu's penthouse, to which we find and use the control pad Yorinobu used in the BD, to which reveals the biochip. Well, this plan went really well after all.
Shit, Yorinobu's penthouse bound.
Fuck him! Open the safe!
Uh-oh. So I quickly put my link into the chip, then Jackie grabs the suitcase and we delta out of there.
Fuck, too late. Yorinobu's about to walk in. Find cover.
Where?
That pillar, try that.
You fucking kidding? We're in. Which don't solve our problem, T.
I fucking know our problem's still there. Let me think for a sec, okay?
I thought Adam Smasher. Bodyguard. Horse. Night City legend. Bleep motherfucking one too. What's the play? We wait.
Are they here yet?
They approach from the landing pad?
Fuck are they talking about? Bug, who we got incoming?
Nuh-uh. No fucking way. This isn't happening. Saburo Arasaka?
The Emperor. Yet another ass-licking legend. Shush.
With the bodyguards being sent away, Saburo and Yorinobu Arasaka have a little chat, father to son. It turns out Saburo found out the chip has been stolen by his son, Yorinobu, and tries to talk some sense into him about his actions, and says that how he behaved is unacceptable, and that it is a good thing his mother isn't alive to see it, as the heart should only break once. With Saburo killed, the alarms going off, everything has gone to shit, and Yorinobu tells Saburo's bodyguard his father was poisoned and prevents Takamura to further investigate. When they leave, we decide now's probably a good time to delta, with T-Bug unlocking the balcony door for us.
Oh, fuck. Oh, no, not now. I've been made.
Bug! Pinche Dios santo bendito! Just lost T!
Fuck! Fucking Major Leagues. Happy now, Jackie?
Okay. Well, that was horrible. We almost make it to a set of ladders until Trauma and the police show up, and we give the windows a nice wax before hitting solid ground.
What the fuck is going on?
With the biochip slowly degrading due to a breach in the suitcase, Parker tells us to carry the chip on a personal link, to which Jackie volunteers. With Delamain on the way to pick us up and the whole of Night City ready to find and shoot us, we make our way out of the hotel as quietly and as quickly as possible to less inconvenience ourselves. We make it to the car and get greeted by Adam Smasher, who is quoted as a fucking roadblock by Dell. But we manage to get away. As I sit with Jackie and reassure him that everything is going to be alright and we've made it to the major leagues, Dell tells me of his condition being very critical. And with little time left, Jackie decides to hand me over the biochip and to say his few last words.
Jackie, don't close your eyes.
Misty, I know. You always know. Biochip. Hold on to it. For me.
When we reach No Tell Motel, I tell Dell, that was a tongue twister, to deliver Jackie's body to his mother, and I head to the room to meet Dex. He's not happy with the amount of noise I have brought with me. I tell him Jackie is dead and I lied about not getting the biochip, which I thought might change the next part of the dialogue, but Dex still tells you to go to the bathroom and wash your face. When I get out, you guessed it. Dex betrays me as he is shit scared to be involved and only looks out for number one, which is himself, and puts a bullet in between my eyes.
Can't risk it, V. Remember our first convo? Seems I've chosen the quiet life after all. No blaze of glory for me.
I must say, that whole mission was one of the most exciting, well-written, replayable and intense sequences in a game I have played in a while. It made me feel so many different feelings during it. When Subaru walked in and hearing Jackie's and T-Bug's reaction made my gut drop. When Jackie says some of the funniest shit that genuinely made me laugh the first time I played through this game.
Yet another ass-licking legend. Shush.
Hearing T-Bug's death, not even seeing it, leaving it to the imagination, it made me feel so sorry for her, as the last thing she did was help us try to escape, which cost her her life. The feeling of having Arasaka, Militech and pretty much the entire of Night City coming after us as everyone believed we had killed the Emperor, and made me feel convicted of the wrong crime, and I wanted to make it out of there to prove my innocence against Yorinobu. The game gave me an incentive, motivation, and a goal to reach, and I think this, as a start of a game, was done brilliantly. Even though the end of the mission is about 80% of the trailer shown to us before the game was even released, it's still captivating and I enjoyed it a lot.
Initiating combat mode.
Reloading! Delamain, got it! Woo-hoo! That's what I'm talking about! Alright, in and out, bitches! We're rich! Oh, we are going to the major leagues, Jackie! We did it, Jackie! We fucking made it!
I guess we did. I'm sorry. Hold on to it. For me.
Show no respect and no shit, nobody goes to sleep.
City for a right wing or a trip out of town. Military. Protection. 9:30 this evening, followed by gunshots. Several blocks down the street. Fortunately, fire crews report they've managed to get.
Let me in.
He waiting.
So with the bullet lodged into my head, we get a Terminator 2 restart look-alike screen and are now shown to be in some sort of warehouse / club.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
I perform my last gig, it seems, and say a farewell to one of my band members, Kerry, who seems pretty down about it. I get in a helicopter with a gang of badasses and we storm Arasaka headquarters and shoot the shit out of the rooftop before jumping down and placing a bomb in the elevator shaft and shooting the cables, which is pretty fun. The rest of the crew go back to the helicopter, but I decide to carry on using this awesome pistol and reach an access point and connect an engram to it, i.e. uploading a virus into Arasaka's system. When I leave, I get greeted once again by Adam Smasher, but he looks slightly different this time to what I saw previously. However, this mission is set in 2020, 57 years before the first part of the game. Anyway, I somehow make it to the helicopter, but because of the game's pacing at times, it feels like a snail pushing two snails. The game doesn't want me to leave and takes a while to realise I could have easily escaped. Then it activates the cutscene of my impending doom.
Told you, Johnny boy. Told you I'd end you someday.
I wake up and I'm greeted by Subaru Arasaka. Johnny is then taken from life form into an engram, i.e. the biochip, i.e. the biochip in V's head.
And you? Who are you?
I wake up as V now in the middle of a scrapyard and see Dex and the bodyguard Takamura we saw earlier at Yorinobu's penthouse, and we get to see a little justice on Dex's behalf.
Heavier than he looks. Now, listen, dog. I have done exactly what you asked. So let's you and me figure this out.
From the looks of it, we get captured by Takamura, who is bringing us to Yorinobu. But things don't go according to plan, and he is attacked on the way and asks for my help. With a little health boost and orph aiming, we take out the bikers before Takamura has enough and crashes into one. With things not looking too good for either of us, he asks me to call someone, anyone, for help. So I get in contact with Delamine to take us to an old trusted cyberdoc, Victor. When we arrive, I am in pretty bad shape, but I'm gonna make it. Victor explains to me how I'm still alive, and those visions I saw earlier weren't a vivid dream, but memories of Johnny Silverhand. Now, the biochip's main design is to copy someone's own persona and to then program it into someone else's, therefore taking over their psyche, in other words, replacing. Now for V, this doesn't look good. If we by some miracle don't find out how to separate both psyches, Johnny will eventually take over V's entirely, and V will not exist. V starts to break down from finding out this information, but is eventually taken back home by Misty and put to rest. Victor gave me some pills to control Johnny. The red ones give control to Johnny and the blue ones give control to V. I know this is a reference to something with the blue pill and the red pill, but I just can't quite get my fingers on it. I think it's like a well-known franchise in cinema. Nope, still can't think of it. It's on the tip of my tongue as well. Oh well. Anyway, Johnny turns up and is not happy, but we both realise something is not quite right, as what he moves, I move, and vice versa. And before things get too out of control, I take the blue pills to get him away for a while for me to try and make sense of what the hell is happening. Oh yeah, my Johnny looks slightly different than the actual base game skin. This is the DLC version of Johnny, which you can stick on using the option in the menu. Not too sure how long I'll keep him like this, as I'm not too keen on this skin, but it may grow on me, so we'll wait and see. The next morning, I get a call from Takamura. He tells me to meet him at the local diner, as he may have the solution to helping me with my problem, if I help him with his. Alright, I think now's a good time to take a break from the main story and talk about gigs. But first things first, I need to go get my car. Alright, let's just see if I can find one on the road.
That day on, if I was going somewhere, I was running.
I need someone for a quick and quiet operation. Quick and quiet operation.
Quick and quiet operation.
Why didn't you want to work with Dakota before?
I'm not crazy about fixers. Might as well be.
I've never lost a fight.
You say you've never lost. I say there's a first time for everything.
Ha! Sorry to say, you'll be disappointed. Come on.
Power up!
What is going on in here?
Alright, so moving on, we have our next fixer, Dino. There are several gigs you can do for him to increase your street cred, but this one in particular I chose as I believe it's when the game devs shot themselves in the foot. So at the start, you get the details sent over by Dino and explains that a merc called Jack Morza, quote-unquote Night City's gonkiest merc, was used by Dino recently for a gun-for-hire gig. It was meant to be a quiet job, but Jack killed everyone, causing loads of noise and aggro. Does this sound familiar? Okay, stay with me for a second. Now Dino wants me, aka another merc, to kill Morza to prevent the consequences of his actions from spreading any further to Dino, putting him in the frame. I have completed gig after gig after gig with my time capturing this footage, and I have not at any point chose to remain discreet. I have intentionally killed absolutely everyone shooting limb after limb with some of the loudest guns possible. And you know what happens to me with the consequences of my actions? My fucking reputation goes up, i.e. street cred, because that is effectively what the reputation system is in this game, and it doesn't matter how you complete a gig, it'll still increase. Now, I don't know 100% if it increases more if you complete the optional stealth tasks, but it really doesn't matter because it doesn't have an effect on me, because I haven't even completed all the NCPD hustles, reported crimes, and etc. And I still have reached max level for street cred. My point is, if you're going to have a reputation progression bar in your game, do more with it. Add the consequence of the player's actions. It'll make the grind more intense, and you cannot argue that will make it too difficult to grind, because in all honesty, it really wouldn't. Just reload a previous fucking save. If you don't like what you've done, at the end of the day, you can't get pissed off the mistake you have made intentionally or accidentally in an RPG, because that's one of the reasons you play this type of genre, to make your own choice and having to deal with the outcome of said choice. Believe it or not, there is another RPG that came out 10 years prior to this game, and it was made within 18 months. Now that was one hell of a crunch. I'm not too sure if you've heard of it though. It's quite a small indie. Obsidian made each faction you met have a reputation of you, ranging from the following. For all these factions, depending on, you guessed it, your actions, and your actions have consequences no matter what you do. If you're kind, you're vilified by other groups. If you're cruel, you're hated by others, but will be accepted by some, as long as you don't turn on them. 2010 this game came out. 18 months development. I'm not here to talk about New Vegas, but it goes much further with its detail in terms of reputation, among other things. In comparison to Cyberpunk's street cred, as I believe in the 8 or so year development, the reputation feature could have had a few adjustments to its involvement in the game. Anyways, I do decide to actually try and hitman my way through this level and not cause a huge disaster straight away. Whilst Johnny complains about the music choice used in the club.
Don't know what he did to deserve what's coming, but his music taste is reason enough to try.
I eventually speak to the barman and ask about Jack, and this tall building tells me to fuck off. So I distract them and sneak through and try to talk some sense into Jack, but he does what I probably would have done in this situation and tries to open fire towards me. He does actually put up a decent fight, and I actually start to struggle. The irony is, I dealt with this gig in the same way as the guy I just killed did when he was alive, and Dino is on his knees sucking my... Every time I play this gig, it plants a huge egg into my head as a reminder of the potential this game could have had if reasons X, Y, and Z didn't occur. And I know I keep beating a dead horse, but it's just aggravating to me. I'm not even mad about the game devs really, it's just my opinion on what I thought would be in a game CDPR promoted, as your actions have consequences, and then not implement that into the reputation system. It just seems like a wasted opportunity. Last and very least, we have Mr. Hands. I'm instructed to steal a van for X, Y, and Z reasons. Right? Nothing of importance to me, as it makes no difference to my development as a character, other than increasing my XP. So, we've established that, yeah? It's just another fetch quest. Alright, cool. So the gig, thus far, made me feel like the John Wick I've always wanted to be. And then I get in the van. I figured, hey, there's a few enemies left, but there's nothing more action-based exciting than leaving the scene in a hot pursuit with guns shooting at you left, right, and center. And you're leaving with the stolen goods like a badass. And not a single thing could put a stop to your...
I can't do it. Fuck it. Fucking thing sucks.
When you steal the van, you are immediately spotted, because fucking why wouldn't you be? Unless you kill everyone silently, I guess. Which then restricts the player to playing it one way. Or, the alternative is to play it any way you like. However, even though you've got adrenaline pumping through your body after killing all of these people and the excitement of leaving the area in a blaze of glory, can you just stop for a second and get out of the van, and can you just, from afar, deactivate the turrets, and once you've done that, get yourself back in the van, restart the engine, restart your fucking emotions, and be on your way. Oh my god! Incredible! Game design! How has this not been nominated for the best award for cacking my pants down and telling me to go and fuck? That's pretty much it for gigs in this video. I know I didn't get round to showing all of them, and there are great ones out there, but hopefully with the ones I have shown you, it will give you an insight as to what to expect if you ever come around to playing this game again, or play it for the first time. I had fun playing through these gigs. They sort of kind of remind me of contracts / side quests from The Witcher 3, but in all fairness, they're their own thing. I don't really know how to compare them or label them. You could say they're just extra side quests, and for the most part you'd probably be right. Others might think they're just a side activity to keep you busy before going back to the main story. And again, there are plenty of gigs that will prove that analogy. But one could say they're already different types of activities in the game, repetitive towards one another, but still they vary slightly, even if not by a lot. There are also side quests in this game with more narrative driven story and gameplay in comparison to gigs, which takes the player to different places and allows them to reflect back on them as good or bad side quests. Gigs, however, I guess can have the same effect as that, but for the most part I just think of grinding all of them out, and by the end of it my character's level has doubled, my loot, armor and weapons are spectacularly better, which I don't mind, as I usually like to get all of the side activity done first so then I can feel like an absolute boss during the main story. With enough said, transition please. Oh shit, I forgot about the cyber psychos. Alright, so let's wrap things up. The rest of the story consists of V trying to find someone that can remove Johnny's psyche off of the chip before time runs out, and over time, during the game, you and Johnny start to get along. After talking to Takamura and going across the Badlands and meeting numerous amount of people, you reach a dead end, until you and Takamura kidnap Yorinobu's sister and convince her that her brother killed her father, before Arasaka turn up and rescue Hanako. And if you're not quick enough to rescue Takamura, he will die. Following the events that occurred here, you manage to get in contact with Hanako and go and speak to her and give him 4 choices on how to end the game. Throughout the game you start to meet other people and you have the opportunity to get closer with them if you decide to help them out by completing their own side quests. For example, after the heist you can help Judy to try and locate where Evelyn is as she went off the grid, and the more quests you do for Judy, after time you can end up romancing her if you're playing a female V. This is the same foundation for all of the other characters you meet in the game. Depending on your character's gender can lead to romancing each of these people. Some of the people you meet play an important part in the story, especially depending on your choice at the end, which I give credit to CDPR for. Johnny's ex-girlfriend Alt was kidnapped by Arasaka and pretty much got brain fried and now lives in the net and has no memory of her past life. We were able to contact Alt via the Voodoo Boys, who are a street gang that wasted half of our fucking time, and hired Evelyn Parker to get the chip, which cost her life, so fuck these guys. Pretty great that you actually have the option to kill them if you wanted to. The 4 options are as follows. Help Arasaka take down Yorinobu and meet Saburo Arasaka in engram form. Once you've taken down Yorinobu, you are taken to Arasaka's space station to see if you can get fixed up, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be the case and you are left with either saving your soul, but it lives in Mikoshi, or leave the space station and you'll die before the winter. Another choice is you can phone Pan Am if you've finished her questline and she can help you reach Mikoshi. In the midst of all of that, Adam Smasher comes up and kills Sol, a guy that was nothing but a pain in my ass. Anyway, once he's dead and you kill Adam Smasher, Alt plugs V and Johnny into cyberspace, where you can choose to go back to Earth with short life expectancy, but you leave Night City with Pan Am, and if you romance Judy, she'll come with you, which is sort of a nice happy ending. If you leave cyberspace as Johnny, you'll have a longer life, but V's construct will be destroyed along with Alt and Mikoshi. Johnny also leaves Night City if given the option. The third option is Johnny takes control of V and storms Arasaka, and this time Rogue, Johnny's closest friend, gets killed by Adam Smasher instead of Sol, but ultimately leads to the same choice again at Mikoshi. Only this time if you let V live, he won't have long still, but he goes to Arasaka's space station and I guess destroys it. It's sort of left to your imagination. The last option is for V to shoot himself, then and there. Yorinobu stays in power, both Johnny and V die, and the ending is much shorter and less aggro. Can we just take a moment and appreciate the fact that CDPR actually used different camera angles while V and Johnny speak, instead of always presenting the game in a first-person view? It would have been so much more interesting and innovating if they did that for the entire game, just like Witcher 3. Why didn't they do this? After the ending, depending on your choices throughout the game, especially towards the end, you are given little video calls from all the people you have met. It can get very emotional if you decide to die, for example, as all the characters start to break down as they miss you. I wasn't expecting this video call scenario to occur, and it made me feel absolutely terrible with some of the choices I made. This is why, when V shoots himself, it's particularly my favourite ending. It felt more grounded and realistic, and it showed its consequence of my choice and actions, which had a heavier effect on me. There's not really a happy ending in this game, but that one felt more darker, which is something I've never really chosen in a game before, and it was a nice change, and it was something to take into consideration.
Exactly why we'll do one last thing.
Okay. Lost me. Realized the shit we've been through to get this far.
Sure do.
To let it all go now. Why?
Cleanest, least bloody option. If we try anything else, people will die.
People die. It's the way of things.
Am I worth their sacrifice? Are you? Besides, it's the only way we'll both be aware.
Of what? Death?
Mm-hmm. The moment life escapes.
Never really gave it a thought. Funny how you still manage to surprise me sometimes.
Might be something I learned from you.
V, you sure about this?
As long as you got nothing against it.
Not how I'd have done it. But that's all right.
Just like that. No pushback.
Huh. Might have learned a little something from you too. Is it time?
You know, it really is beautiful.
Been nice working with you, V.
Yeah. With you too, Johnny.
That is pretty much all we have time for today, and with the new released 1.5 patch, the game feels much better and has a lot of improvements. For example, the UI is easier to navigate and the frame rate has somewhat improved. The money glitch doesn't work as effectively anymore, as they stopped drop points from getting money back if you wait an hour in game. You can't also shoot and heal at the same time anymore. These are just some of the things I picked up when covering this review. But there are much less bugs than at launch, which is a good start, but there is still the occasional one here and there. I know I didn't go through the entire game, for example side quests, the rest of the gigs, and other interactions you can have in the game, but I just wanted to get this video out. So the answer that begs the question, is Cyberpunk 2077 still bad? Actually, no, it isn't. I had fun. There are certain things in the game that could have been much better, and could have been a much better game in general if all the promises made by CDPR were met, and yeah, it could have been the greatest game of all time. If that was the question, then fuck no, it is not the greatest, but it certainly isn't bad. At least not now, and to be fair, when I was playing it, I enjoyed it. But as mentioned before, since the new patch, it is much easier to play in terms of performance. Alright everyone, thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I hope this entertained you. I really enjoyed making the video, but boy am I glad it's done. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below of what you thought. I'm going to be taking a break from reviews and doing some playthroughs instead. I think my next game I'm going to start with is Hitman Blood Money, and then afterwards I might do a review on it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Alright everybody, this has been The Gamer Life. Until the next time, bye bye.